Luis Bracamontes is a Mexican cop killer whose chilling courtroom behavior has left many in shock. On October 24, 2014, Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Danny Oliver and Placer County Sheriff's Detective Michael Davis Jr. were killed in a day-long shooting rampage. Bracamontes and his wife, Janelle Monroy, were involved in this series of events that began in a Motel 6 parking lot in Sacramento and ended in Auburn, California. In footage from his trial, Bracamonte exhibited chilling behavior. He frequently smiled, laughed, and even admitted to the killings, showing no remorse. Bracamonte is seen smiling incessantly, even as he faces charges for the murder of 2 Northern California sheriff's deputies. His remorseless demeanor is evident as he expresses regret for not having killed more officers. His defense attorneys argued that Bracamontes had a mental illness and was high on methamphetamine during the shootings, which made him act impulsively. However, the prosecution argued that Bracamontes had planned the attacks and even wore body armor during the shooting spree. His wife, Janelle Monroy, was also on trial for her role in the events of that day. While she claimed she was a victim of her husband's violent tendencies and was forced to participate, the prosecution argued that she willingly assisted Bracamontes. The drama in the courtroom was palpable from the very beginning. On his first day of trial, Bracamontes brazenly yelled out, admitting his crimes and declaring the trial a waste of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please step out of the hallway.
The prosecution detailed the gruesome nature of the murders, including scenes of bloodshed and cries of,
"And there's blood everywhere. He's been hit." And he yells, "I'm hit, I'm hit, I'm hit."
Bracamontes disturbingly chuckled to himself. In a previous trial where cameras were not permitted, reporters noted his relaxed attitude. He appeared easygoing and even greeted the gallery with a casual, "Hey, how are you guys doing today?" He showed no remorse to the victims' families in court. In a shocking turn of events, he had an outburst, stating with a smile,
"I will break out soon and I will kill more."
Luis Bracamontes was found guilty of the murders of the 2 deputies.
We, the jury, find that the defendant, Luis Enriquez Monroy Bracamontes, committed multiple murders within the meaning of Penal Code Section 190.2 sub A sub 3 to be true. Dated February 9, 2018, signed 4-person, jury number 7.
And was sentenced to death in 2018. Janelle Monroy was sentenced to 24 years and 10 months on various counts to be served before a 25-year to life sentence in the murder of Placer Sheriff's Detective Michael Davis Jr.
Case number 14F07390, Department 21, verdict count 1.
The case was politically charged and was cited in debates about U.S. immigration policy, as Bracamontes was in the country illegally at the time of the murders. Randall Moore's heinous crimes and subsequent trial sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The judge, visibly disturbed by Moore's actions, remarked,
"You give a new meaning to the word evil. I've never, ever seen anybody like you."
Moore had not only kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed his former wife, Therese Ann Lynch, but also critically injured Officer Todd Rowland, who responded to distress calls from the scene. A haunting radio transmission captured the dire situation.
303 Adam's been hit, officer down. He has 20 shells. He wants no one to come to the door.
Moore's motive, as revealed in a chilling call to a 911 dispatcher, was his desperation to see his 7-month-old son after Lynch had left him and filed a protective order. The prosecuting attorney painted a vivid picture of Moore's brutality, describing how he violently forced Lynch into his car.
And he said, get in my car. And when she refused to get inside the car with him, he grabbed her like a piece of luggage and he threw her
Argumentative.
face first in the back seat of the car.
As the verdict was read, Moore's chilling indifference was evident in his slight nod. Lynch's mother, during the sentencing, read from her daughter's journal, highlighting her fear and disdain for Moore.
What you did to my daughter, Therese Ann Marie Lynch, was evil, hateful, and despicable.
You are now dead and rotting and repulsive to me.
Despite the overwhelming evidence and emotional testimonies, Moore remained defiant, expressing no remorse and placing blame on his wife for keeping him from their son.
Read the journal she wrote. She hated you. She hated you. You're a loser. And I'll tell you point blank, I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Teresa Ann's death.
The court doesn't allow me to punish you any more than I'm doing now. If I could, I would.
The judge, repulsed by Moore's lack of remorse, sentenced him to 3 life terms and an additional 25 years for attempted murder. Keith Ferguson of Kalkaska, Michigan, faced 12 felony counts, including kidnapping and murder. At 40 years old, during a heated divorce argument with his wife, Tiffany Ferguson, he violently assaulted her before fatally shooting her in the presence of their 4 children. In a horrifying sequence of events, Ferguson then took the children to Tiffany's parents' house and shot his father-in-law dead. He subsequently invaded a nearby home, taking the owner hostage and barricading himself inside. After a tense 7-hour standoff, Ferguson was apprehended by the authorities. During his court appearance, his lack of remorse and indifferent demeanor left everyone astounded. At his sentencing, Tiffany's best friend delivered a poignant victim impact statement.
I knew one day you would kill her. She would always reply, "He loves his kids too much. He won't kill me. He loved them so much, he murdered their mother and grandfather."
When questioned about his children, Ferguson expressed no desire to ever see or communicate with them again. The judge, addressing Ferguson, remarked that while he might not fit the clinical definition of insanity, there was undeniably something profoundly amiss with him.
May not meet the clinical definition of insanity, but there's clearly something fundamentally wrong with you.
Ultimately, Ferguson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
See y'all in hell.
At just 17, Michael Swanson embarked on a chilling killing spree in Iowa, taking the lives of 2 gas station attendants within a mere hour. His first heinous act occurred in Elgano, where, donning a ski mask and armed with a handgun, he demanded cash and cigarettes from Vicki Bowman Hall. Even though she complied, he coldly shot and killed her. Not long after, in Humboldt, he repeated this grim act, murdering Sheila Myers. Authorities apprehended him 60 miles away after identifying his vehicle. Disturbingly, both victims had met his demands, indicating that robbery wasn't his primary intent, but rather murder. During his trial, Swanson's chilling indifference was palpable. When the judge read out his sentence, highlighting the grim future awaiting him, Swanson's response was a mere smirk and laugh, expressing no remorse. His cold amusement persisted even when confronted by the victims' families, who challenged his motives.
I want to know if you're even sorry. Are you sorry for what you did? My mom was not only completely 100% innocent, but she was also a defenseless woman when you came in with that gun. You said you did it for cigarettes and money and so no one could identify you, but I think that's a lie.
They pointed out that he had previously confessed to killing for the sheer feeling of power, not just for money or anonymity. Some even described him as heartless and soulless.
Where did you shoot? On the body? Yeah. In the face? In the face? Okay. Right in the face. If I was just gonna shoot to injure her, why would I shoot her in the heart?
Swanson's family was notably absent, offering no defense or comments on his actions. As the trial concluded, Swanson was labeled dangerous and unpredictable by the judge and was sentenced to 2 life terms. However, his violent streak didn't end there. 4 years into his sentence, he brutally killed a fellow inmate, adding another 25 years to his already lengthy sentence. In September 2017, the quiet community of Winter Park, Florida, was shaken by the disappearance of Jennifer Fulford, a dedicated personal assistant and nanny. A few days into her mysterious absence, the worst fears were confirmed when her body was found in a secluded wooded area. The subsequent investigation painted a harrowing picture. Jennifer had been abducted, brutally stabbed multiple times, bound, and ultimately suffocated. The prime suspect, Scott Nelson, was no stranger to the criminal justice system. He had a sprawling criminal record and had spent a considerable chunk of his life behind bars. Remarkably, after his release from probation, his interactions with the prison system and his probation officer became central themes during his trial.
They turned me into an animal. I've been beaten. I've been chained to beds for days that are ripped. I've been locked in cells that are so stifling hot. I have flashbacks to this very day. I've had cockroaches running over my body. I've been beaten. I've been raped. I've been everything in prison.
In a chilling turn of events, Nelson didn't just confess to the crime. He provided a graphic, detailed account of the entire ordeal, from abduction to the merciless killing, all without a hint of remorse. His cold recounting sent shivers down the spines of those in the courtroom.
Well, sir, I'll be very frank with you. Jennifer Lynn Fulford would be alive today had it not been for Julio Dominguez.
Mr. Dominguez was a federal probation officer?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Dominguez, according to your statement, is the individual responsible for Jennifer Fulford's death?
Yes.
Did Mr. Dominguez kill Jennifer Fulford?
No.
Who killed Jennifer Fulford?
I did.
All right.
Throughout the trial, Nelson's erratic behavior was on full display. He used the proceedings as a soapbox, airing grievances about his past treatment in prison and by his probation officer. He even went as far as suggesting that his perceived injustices drove him to target Fulford, implying she was a pawn in his vendetta against his probation officer.
You're saying that Jennifer Fulford was collateral damage as a result of your disliking Mr. Dominguez and how he treated you?
Well, I believe it's more, yes, but it's more accurate that he had a problem with me rather than I having a problem with him.
This attempt to deflect blame was met with disbelief and anger. While Nelson's defense acknowledged his role in the crime, especially given his detailed confession, they pivoted their strategy towards his mental health and the external factors that might have pushed him to commit such a heinous act.
Mr. Nelson, do you want to be sentenced to death?
Yes.
The jury's verdict was almost a foregone conclusion.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of robbery with a deadly weapon as charged in the indictment. So we all dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida.
Guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder and kidnapping. The gravity of his actions and the threat he posed led the judge to sentence Nelson to life without the possibility of parole.